Thank you very much for joining the Ultima Microsoft licensing webinar today, the 10th of October 2024. This session is being recorded as always, and afterwards the recording and the slides will be made available to you. So my name is Ian Gerrard. I'm the head of Microsoft licensing here at Ultima. I've been doing this for a fair few years now, and the idea being that these monthly webinars are just a bit of an update on what those hot topics are with Microsoft. As the title alluded to, the fast changing world. Some months there's more updates than others, but generally what I'll do is I'll try and cover what the hot topics are that I've been speaking about with all of our variety of customers and what we've been helping them with, and also any new updates from Microsoft, changes that are coming, and how you can just make yourself that you're forearmed and to take advantage or to mitigate any risks that may or may not be happening with the changes. I always do embrace questions or suggestions. If there's other subjects that you want to hear about, I'll try and cover off the questions at the end as well. And like I said before, the slides will be made available, as will the recording. The idea being that I'm sure your own unique licensing environment and situation is going to be unique. So hopefully this will start the conversation or answer some of your questions. But I do encourage you to get in contact with myself, with your own licensing consultant, or with your account team. You can see my contact details there to kind of discuss how these changes may or may not actually impact you, or how you can actually take advantage of them. Yeah, you're going to have your own unique interpretation. On the agenda today, like I say, just kind of generally covering off all the recent updates. One of the biggest things that we've been talking about, especially now we are in October, is around the extended security updates for Windows Server 2012. So I'll kind of cover that off in regards to what those rules are and what your options are moving forwards, and some of the costs or some of those decision points that many organizations are having. That's probably one of the key things that I've been talking about over the last 6 to 8 weeks, really. Also, there's next up Wave 2, Microsoft Copilot. So I'll give a bit of an update in regards to what that Wave 2 release of products is and will look like. I'll cover off what Office 365 E1 Plus is as a new suite, which, to be honest with you, may or may not be that relevant right now, but I'll cover that off in more detail later, as I will the update regarding Microsoft Teams within the larger suites, or being removed from those larger suites, how to protect yourself, what your options are. Finally, I'll cover off any kind of other news and updates. And then finally, like I say, we'll open up the floor for questions as well. One of the first things that I did want to cover off, and which I've been covering off over the last few webinars, is in regards to making sure everyone's kind of updated in regards to what Microsoft are doing. We had the end of their financial year in June, as you know. So now we've got a clear idea regarding what Microsoft's key priorities and strategies are for the coming 12 months. Many things that Ultima are kind of aligning to, many things that different organizations are doing as well. So it is kind of important to see, well, is there any sense in aligning with Microsoft, looking at their roadmap, looking at our roadmap, and kind of taking advantage, whether that's with commercial kind of incentives, whether that's with funding, whether that's just with additional resource, whether that's just justifying or sanity checking your own strategies and your own thinking about particular products, or your own particular emphasis, or what your CTO or your board or what your shareholders are directing you towards. Microsoft are definitely still retaining that focus on and that emphasis on AI and cloud services. We know that AI innovation is expanding all of the various cloud services. I will cover off Wave 2 later, but again, it's kind of not getting away that Microsoft's key focus is on this cloud platform. How are you going to enhance the user's productivity, make it more efficient for your business? A lot of this is going to be based around those key strategic products, so simply buying what Microsoft class as a key strategic product, whether that's Copilot, whether that's Microsoft 365 at E5, whether it's that Teams premium license, whether that's investment within Microsoft Azure. You know, these are the areas where Microsoft are really developing and promoting these products, kind of aligning them with their go-to markets, technological advancements. So actually, if you're using or reviewing some of these key strategic products, there could be a lot of alignment there. Could be a lot of resource available, funding potentially available, Microsoft discounts, licensing discount potentially available. Of course, it always depends on where you are within your cycle, EA or CSP coming up to a midterm anniversary, or whether you're looking to go organization wide or not. Ultima are a top tier Microsoft, fully accredited Microsoft partner. So we, now that all these funding pots have been replenished and all these new workshops are available, which you're kind of free to choose whoever you want to deliver them, but obviously Ultima being able to kind of deliver them across the board, as well as covering off all of that licensing, is a kind of key kind of thing that we do, key differentiator that we do, kind of doing that front to back, that full journey. And actually, when I mentioned that, you know, Microsoft have kind of said, yeah, it's really important for us to work with key partners and develop this ecosystem of support for customers. So Ultima do work closely with Microsoft. We are absolutely 100% aligned to the strategic and commercial needs for our customers, but we kind of leverage that with our vendor relationship, and Microsoft kind of replicating that vendor relationship with that partner ecosystem, really strengthening the services we can deliver to you, the customers. Is all around that migration. So what can we do with resource, with funding, with workshops? How can we kind of help you? How can Microsoft help you? So that alignment is a kind of a key focus still for Microsoft, always for Microsoft. To gain market share, of course, I don't think that's any great surprise. We know that Microsoft want to aggressively increase Microsoft presence in key markets. You know, they want outpacing competitors, yeah, by offering superior product in some cases. In some cases, it just makes more sense to align on that Microsoft strategy. Ultima are vendor agnostic. We do work with a variety of different partners. Even if you've got Microsoft 365 E5, there still might be a place, a really viable, correct place for technical solutions from Mimecast, from Varonis, from Symantec. You know, it's true that you have to look at your own environment and what's right for you, but allowing Microsoft to gain, if you are thinking of aligning and standardizing on that Microsoft piece, whatever it is, whether it's on the Power Platform, whether it is on with the security, whether it's on the data management or storage, you know, there's always support there, and it's always going to be key for Microsoft to win all of that market share. The next one, the final one I really wanted to cover, is just leveraging that data. You know, continuing, I mentioned it briefly before around the Power Platform, kind of the power of data analytics to drive your decision making, improve your customers' experience, you know, data-driven insights. So leveraging your data, our data, their data is a key strategic goal and focus for Microsoft in this next financial year. So whatever you're doing might potentially fit into one of those 5 areas. You know, speak to Ultima, speak to account manager, speak to your licensing specialist around how we can help you technically with resource, with available funding from Microsoft, those workshops that are available, licensing discount. When are you doing it? Is it organization wide? For how many? What's your use case? You know, this is a conversation we're having with lots of organizations. So I did just want to cover that off very much front of mind. And you may think, well, actually, why did Windows Server 2012 fit into that? Because, yeah, that's Microsoft's strategic goals and focus moving forwards. But the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of organizations, a lot of organizations still have legacy on-premise servers, whether that's SQL, whether that's Windows 7, or right here, right now, whether we're talking about today, Windows Server 2012. So I've been working quite a lot with a huge variety of different organizations, kind of just working through what their options are. And you can see the detail on the screen, and you'll get a copy of these slides. But effectively, Windows Server 2012 has gone into, or in October 2023, went into extended security updates. Again, this is not kind of new features, as you know. It is regarding security updates bulletins. So it's really for those security updates only. you as an organization have got a variety of different ways to purchase these extended security updates. If you can't obviously just upgrade, option number one, upgrade off 2012. I would say it boils down to three options. Number one, migrate that 2012 server to Azure, and then effectively Microsoft will provide those security updates completely free of charge to yourself. But obviously that does mean migrating that 2012 server to Azure workloads, which may or may not be feasible, may or may not be possible within your environment. So then there's the Azure Arc option, and I will come on to this in more details, and I'll kind of break it down. But Azure Arc enabled servers, or ESU, effectively means keeping those servers on premises or in kind of non-Azure clouds, but then purchasing the extended security updates on a monthly basis to cover those 2012 servers. The final option, probably the one that the most organizations have gone for in some shape or form, is that volume license to basically purchase 1 year's coverage of extended security updates via your EA agreement, your CSP agreement, your SCE agreement. So again, that's probably the most common, certainly the most expensive, certainly the one where we need to kind of spend the most time supporting customers. There are a variety of rules, whether you're doing it via Azure Arc or volume license, you need to make sure you have active software assurance on those 2012 servers. You need to license them on a core basis, talking about ESU. So you think, okay, I've got a 20 core physical server. It's on 2012. You need to make sure you buy extended security updates, which are sold per core to cover those 20 cores. If you're just coming to this now, as I mentioned, this was released in October the 10th, 2023. So if you're just looking at this now, the updates are cumulative. So if you wanted to buy year two in October 2024, you would also need to retrospectively purchase the security updates from year one. So as you can see, it very quickly gets very expensive. You have to purchase each year, so you have to purchase for that full year, regardless. Even if you were coming to it in March 2025, you think I need to buy extended security updates, you buy that for the full year. It's basically backdated to October 24, and it will end in October 25. So it's always for those full years within volume licensing. One thing that is good to know is that you're not necessarily restricted. So let's say you've got Windows Server Data Center on your physical host server. You license all the physical cores. That gives you an unlimited number of virtual machines. And actually, what if one of those virtual machines was a 2012 server? You wouldn't need to license that host, that data center host, if it's not 2012, just because that host is hosting a 2012 server. So all you would actually need to do is you think, well, I need to make sure I've got my active software assurance, tick, that's off from that data center license on the host. But actually my 2012 server is just a virtual machine, and yeah, you can just effectively license that single virtual machine with standard. You don't have to have that correlation between the active software assurance being data center edition and the ESU that you purchase can be standard edition. So that's an important thing to understand. When it comes to Azure Arc, which is what I'm going to cover off now, let's say, for example, you bought year one on volume license, and now you're ready to look at using Azure Arc. You can then start purchasing year two under Azure Arc, and it will kind of acknowledge the fact that you had year one through volume licensing. So you don't need to kind of worry about backdating Azure Arc to October 2023 if you had that already covered through volume licensing. The Azure Arc basically means that you can enable those extended security updates for those on-premise servers. You don't have to pay upfront for anything. You kind of pay as you go monthly. And then one of the big benefits of doing it this way, I mentioned on the volume license side, you have to do the full 12 months regardless. With Azure Arc, you can pay basically monthly. And then as soon as you've actually made that transition, whether you've upgraded that server off 2012, you can end those Azure Arc payments straight away. So it's a really flexible way, and there's also potentially a way, especially if you've got an aggressive upgrade plan, that you don't have to buy that full year. And I'll come on to this in in the next slide that can be expensive is expensive. If you've got, and not every organization has this, if you've got like an MCA agreement and an SCE agreement, anything where you're making a MAC commitment, MACC. MAC stands for Microsoft Azure consumption commitment. So you say to Microsoft, hey, give me this agreement, I'll spend £1 million on Azure. If you are using Azure Arc, that does draw down that consumption commitment that you've made. Then Microsoft might have discounted and said, hey, you need to do this to get these pricing. So you can apply the discounted pricing and it will draw down from that MAC commitment as well, if that's something that's relevant for you. If not, you can just do it on like a CSP, monthly CSP. Absolutely brilliant. No problems at all with that. Same kind of flexibility in regards to what that active software assurance is on. You can have that mix of standard and data center licensing. It's all kind of managed via Azure Update Manager and that machine console. So again, we've got some cloud success teams here. We've got the customer success team. We're able to kind of help with that whole assessment. Wait a minute, what is Azure Arc? Wait a minute, what is Azure? You know, at any point, no matter how much you have or haven't migrated to the cloud or to Azure or to other kind of non-Azure, you know, AWS, for example, we've here needed to help deliver that for you. So you can use our cloud success teams to assess Azure Arc and work out whether it's right for you and your organization. A lot of it will come down to costs. So let's just take a little bit of a look at what those costs would be. And you can see the costs, I've put them up there, you know, kind of via Azure Arc, via volume license. You know, now we're in year 2. Let's say you didn't have software assurance. So, you know, let's say you didn't have software assurance. Let's say you hadn't put year 1. You're looking down the barrel of a very high cost. You know, the cost of ESU on a volume license in year 2, October 2024 to October 2025, is almost twice the cost of what the actual license for standard would cost you subscribe to on an annual basis. So it's expensive. But then if you compare that to Azure Arc, you can see that Azure Arc does offer you some savings. If you just take a 24 core data center host, you know, to put some volume license ESU on there is going to cost about 7,800 per year, whereas the equivalent costs on a kind of via Azure Arc, which can be done monthly, as you can see, is saving you a little bit of cash there, you know, which is also the benefit that you can kind of turn it off because it's done on a monthly basis. I've priced it out for 12 months, but actually, if you migrate after 6, 7, 8 months, you end those payments straight away. So if you are able to adopt Azure Arc and it's right for your organization, feasible, you have the resource, and again, Ultima can help with that, then you're going to make cost savings. It's going to be a little bit more flexible for you. I really recognize, and again, the conversations are lots of organizations want to do that, want to explore that, and we're helping many explore that. But the fact of the matter is that they might not be able to adopt Azure Arc, might not be your strategy, might not have the resource. So many organizations are having to look at that volume license cost again. So please send us through, you know, me and the other consultants frequently get sent the breakdown of all of the cores, on-premise cores, virtual cores. This is what we've got, this is active, this is passive, this is DR, this is this is that. Send it all through, we work through it, and we kind of work out the best path forward for you as an organization. Every organization is different as well, it goes without saying. Microsoft Copilot, or Wave 2, as it has been announced by Satya last month, has been a variety of new features and functionality kind of coming to Microsoft 365 Copilot. So this is the one where, you know, with working with your Office products, and this is more, some of it's actually been released already, to be fair. The first of which we can talk about is Copilot Pages. So again, effectively being able to do collaboration in real time across Word files. So you can ask Copilot to kind of improve, expand the kind of documents that you're working on, the content that you're creating, that you're actually sharing with your colleagues. And key update that everyone, certainly I, have been waiting for, which is in release, but we're also looking for more advancements to come over the coming months, and more due in November, around Python within Copilot. So actually Copilot working within Excel. If we kind of cut to the chase, being able to question that data, and being able to extrapolate that from some pretty big files, so you can, again, with that focus on data, right? So kind of just learning more from that data. And Copilot within Excel is probably going to be the area, probably going to be the application within 365 that's going to have the most advancement in the coming months, and currently as well. Copilot within PowerPoint, I think those who have a Copilot license know the pain of trying to create, the challenges of trying to create PowerPoint decks, and kind of with Copilot. It's still not there yet, but there is a narrative builder, so that is being developed. It still kind of works really, really well within Word, and kind of creating the content. Then you do probably have to still do a little bit of manual work to put that in PowerPoint and put that in a format or view that actually makes sense. But Copilot within PowerPoint is being actively improved. I don't think it's quite there yet. Copilot with Outlook, absolutely great, especially now that the new Outlook online has got rid of all of those bugs. So that new prioritization feature, when did I last speak to this person? What did I speak to them about? What were the key actions? Have I forgot to cover off some actions? Did I send emails that I was meant to send? How do I prioritize my inbox? It is really cool. Some really good stuff going on there. And look, we're doing workshops. We've got some more roundtables coming up. I've actually got roundtable number 3, focusing on security and making sure your data is secure. So this is, kind of cutting through and speaking to organizations who've adopted, in the room, we've got guys who've just got 10 licenses to up to kind of 1,000 licenses, talking about their experience, kind of sharing what their use cases are, getting away from that anecdotal side of it, and actually saying, no, this is the actual use cases. This is the actual washing up that it can do. These are the actual tasks that we can give to Copilot, and it actually is pretty efficient. So building up those use cases. So the next one is focusing on kind of security, certainly a blocker for many organizations. I've just gone off on a tangent. Let's get back to wave 2, Copilot within Teams. Teams is definitely the one that most people use Copilot in, and Microsoft to continue to develop it. So you get even more comprehensive recaps than ever. But you need to know what you're doing. We offer workshops and training, and the best people to train from are your colleagues. Oh, found out this, found out that. Just there's so many good tips and tricks you can have as you go on that Copilot journey, and sharing that and speaking with your kind of peers, but also to partners. Also to partners like Ultima is a really good idea. Copilot in OneDrive, so you're able to compare up to 5 documents, which you kind of couldn't do previously. Starting to work within kind of non-Microsoft documents, things like PDFs getting a little bit better, so you can kind of have easy to read summaries, and being able to compare more than just kind of one document at a time. And then in the background, Copilot agents, so they just make everything work a little bit quicker, being able to help you with some of your prompts, saying, have you thought about using this one instead, simplifying how you work, kind of learning how you as a user are using Copilot, and making suggestions around, well, you seem to be doing this a lot, making that process quicker, giving you ideas to simplify it as well. Where are we with Copilot? Good. Always worth covering this off, right? So you still do need to commit to a full 12 months. If you're midterm, that's fine. It's to your next anniversary. You still need to have all of those qualifying products. At the moment, there is a 15% discount if you're buying between 10 to 300 licenses between now and the end of December. It's for new Copilot customers, that one-time offer, up to 300 users. So, Microsoft very much said, right at the start when they launched it in November 2023, you need to buy for 300 users for a full year. We know discounts, £25 per user per month. There's There's certainly been a loosening of that, although you do still need to do the full year. If you've got a Microsoft Enterprise agreement, I'm generally not seeing discounts until you're buying 1,000 licenses. When you're buying 1,000 licenses of Copilot, there's probably a commercial offer under EA. So in a very straightforward way, if you are looking at Copilot, grow with CSP. If you were qualified and have an EA, once you've grown, once you've proved your user cases, once you've got a solid ROI, then start looking potentially at doing that at a larger scale on an EA. If that's right for your organization, that might not even be feasible or relevant for you. But we also leverage that Copilot commitment on EA, 1,000 users. Yes, get a discount on that, but actually it's a key strategic product, so it would actually inform the rest of your anniversary, or even better if you're doing a renewal. We really be able to leverage that for in your negotiations with really strong pre and post sales funding as well. I mentioned about the workshops we're doing. We also have customer success and training, and Microsoft workshops, readiness sessions, and data sorting out sessions, everything else really, whatever it is you need to make that a success for your organization. I wanted to come on to Office 365 E1 Plus. And look, I will say straight away, this is only available in Central Asia, Middle East, Latin America, and Africa at the moment. Some of you might be global organizations, which is great. Oh, do you know what? I've just seen a question, so I probably shouldn't do this, but I am going to, because it's kind of relevant to the section I just spoke about. So thanks for the question, Ben. Yeah, are Microsoft looking to retire EA licensing and pushing more people towards the CSP? So look, that's a really good question. Yes, but it also depends on the size of organization you are. I think if you are, one thing I will say, I mean, this is almost a different subject matter entirely, so maybe I shouldn't go off on a tangent. So I'll cover this at a high level. I'm just talking around it now. If you've got over 6,000 users in your organization, the enterprise agreement is still going to be commercially strategic, commercially the best option for you. You're going to get that close level of support. Certainly at those levels, the enterprise agreement is going to be right for you. If your organization between 2,400 users and 6,000 users, which is level B within the EA space, again, the enterprise agreement is really probably going to be the right licensing method for you. For any organization under these 2,400, Microsoft really are pushing you towards CSP now. There's still, many have a mix of both, right? Because EA might be right for those longer term 3-year commitments, price locking, good price point. But CSP, much more flexible. Actually, if you compare the unit price today for an EA level A against CSP, CSP will be cheaper. That's how Microsoft are pushing people towards CSP. They're not really going to be heavily discounting level A EA agreements. 500 to 2,400 users is a level A EA agreement, although they might do if you buy some key strategic products. Many would, so then they're not really incentivizing EA. They're making CSP cheaper. They're offering discounts on CSP, for example, 15% on Copilot. They're just not getting on EA. So without going too much of a tangent, and this is something which every organization will have different decision points. But if yes, they are pushing people towards CSP if you're a level A EA customer. That doesn't mean CSP is going to be right for everybody, but it's definitely something Microsoft are doing. They're not retiring EA licensing, but another key factor is that from the 1st of January, and this is key, Microsoft are basically no longer paying partners like Ultima, like any other LSP, any rebates on EA. So that's a big one, right? So they're no longer paying us. So suddenly we are no longer incentivized or given rebates to sell enterprise agreements. It doesn't really change at level B and level C. It's still the same. So over 6,000 users, still the same. but that's a really interesting, that's a really kind of key point by saying, yeah, they are pushing towards CSP by offering CSP discounts to customers, not even paying partners to do EAs anymore. Now, look, Ulta are a bit different. You know, we are fully accredited. We do the workshops. We've got the resources. Our Microsoft relationship is key. We fully support EA customers, those with EAs, those are looking at EA renewals. But it does change the parameters of what that service may look like in the new year. Like I say, really kind of shouldn't be spending so much time on this subject, but that's a really good question. Thank you, Ben. Blimey, back to EA, back to E1 Plus. So this isn't available yet in Europe. This is effectively those organizations who are kind of between the E1 and the E3. So it's an E1 license with Intune to manage those mobile devices, with Entry Plan 1 for that, you know, MFA and that conditional access, plus DLP, you know, data loss protection for the inbox. So you can keep those. It's only available on CSP, not even available on EA, even in those other territories, about £16 per user. So it's kind of covering off that mid space between that full head office worker and that kind of mobile flexible worker who still needs to have their device fully managed and still needs to have their profile kind of fully managed with their details being archived. It's not available in Europe yet, in EMEA. It is available in the Middle East, sorry. Not available in Europe yet, but maybe only a matter of time. So worth bearing that in mind. Teams updates is something that Microsoft did announce a while ago, back in April. It's kind of come into effect from the 1st of October, whereas if you're looking to buy Microsoft 365 E3, Office 365 E1, E3, you know, for the first time, on a CSP for the first time, on an EA for the first time, on an Open for the first time, for the first time, it no longer includes Teams. Okay. You need to buy that separately. So they've decreased the cost of the E3 license without Teams, but then you need to buy Teams Enterprise, again, about £4 per user per month. So when you're adding that back in, there is a bit of an increase, a bit of a 5% increase. So yeah, it's kind of compulsory now from the 1st of October. Again, don't get me wrong, if you're an existing customer, you can still buy more licenses, renew. But if you're a new customer to CSP or a new customer in general to any of those suites, you will see you can no longer buy it with Teams included. Other updates, Microsoft are releasing later this year the next on-premise version of Office, LTSC, long-term servicing channel, about 10% price increase, give or take. They will also be doing this for Skype for Business and Exchange servers as well. So those who still need that on-premise, those legacy on-premise server licenses, they will be released later this year. An interesting update, a key update, potentially large update, is those unlicensed OneDrive users. So if you've got or had a user with a OneDrive account, they've then left the organization, so you've reallocated that license to someone else, and you hadn't activated archiving, effectively now after 90 days, all of their storage, all of their data will be inaccessible to users, visible to admins, but inaccessible to users. That's in the new year. So most of the year, I think I got advice from some of our internal pre-sale consultants that it's really going to take effect from March 2025. So you need to get in there, you know, start deleting or applying a license, or just activating archiving. Yeah, that could be a key one if you've got a lot of unlicensed OneDrive accounts where you were keeping all of the information. You need to address it soon. We can help with that, of course. So I did see a couple of questions. Thank you. Let's have a little bit of a look at what they are. So thank you. I'm going to cover off the questions from Ben because he's popped another couple in. Thanks, Ben. Nice one. Does Office 365 E1 Plus include Teams? Brilliant. Include Teams, or would this be an additional bolt-on? It will. Great question, and probably a slight. It does. It won't. No, it will not include Teams. It will be an additional bolt-on. The cynic might say that Microsoft will start releasing new Plus versions purely to get people away from the legacy suites that do include Teams, but only a cynic would say that. So in answer to that question of Office 365 E1 Plus including Teams, no, it will not include Teams. You would need to buy it as a bolt-on. What about Teams with the business premium licenses? Has that been removed? So that is a great question, and actually no, they're not at the moment, although watch this space. Oh, sorry, that last question was from Derek Hart. Thank you, Derek. I probably should have double checked that right before this webinar. No, it hasn't, although I'm frequently corrected. So I will say no, it hasn't, and I will contact you all if that is incorrect. But it hadn't to the point of me writing the slides for the webinar. I think that is all of the questions. I hope that was useful for everyone. Thank you very much for your time today. Please contact me with any more questions, and you'll get a copy of these slides. And thank you very much for your time.